The new arrivals. Professor Villith adjusted her gravity compensator as she reviewed the files on her datapad. The 8 transparent membranes that served as her eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of extreme distress among the Artaxian species. She was about to welcome the first human exchange students to the Galactic Academy of Sciences, and everything she had learned about these Deathworlders terrified her. Earth, classified as a Class 12 death world by the Galactic Council, had somehow produced a sentient species that not only survived but thrived in conditions that would instantly kill most intelligent species in the known universe. Extreme temperature variations, powerful gravitational forces, toxic atmosphere, high radiation levels, dangerous predators, and unpredictable weather phenomena. Humans had evolved through it all. And now 5 of them were joining her advanced environmental adaptation course. Professor, the gentle voice of her teaching assistant, Nexel, broke through her thoughts. The young cephalone's translucent skin pulsed with bioluminescent patterns of concern. The transport shuttle has arrived. Villith straightened her posture, the 6 jointed appendages of her exoskeleton clicking. Thank you, Nexel. Please ensure the quarantine protocols air. About those protocols, Nexel interrupted, an unusual breach of etiquette that highlighted his anxiety. The humans have declined the standard quarantine procedures. They've submitted documentation indicating that our atmosphere is actually less challenging than Earth's. Villith's respiratory sacs inflated in shock. They've what? But the atmospheric containment is for their protection as much as ours. They said, and I quote, "We've been breathing alien atmospheres for decades. Your air is practically sterile compared to Earth's." Before Villith could respond, the classroom door hissed open. Her regular students, 22 representatives from various Class 3 and Class 4 worlds, were already seated in their environmental safety pods, which monitored vital signs and protected them from potential biological contaminants. Then the humans walked in. Villith had expected them to at least wear the standard-issue environmental suits. Instead, they were dressed in what appeared to be casual clothing, fabric coverings that left their skin exposed to the open air. One of them was even consuming a beverage, taking deep gulps from an unsealed container. "Good morning, Professor Villith." The tallest human stepped forward, extending a bare appendage in what her cultural briefing had called a handshake. "I'm Commander Maya Rodriguez, Earth Space Force. These are my colleagues, Dr. Kai Chen, specialist in xenobiology; Lieutenant James Wilson, environmental engineer; Dr. Sophia Okafor, medical officer; and Tech Surgeon Devin Jackson, our systems expert." Villith instinctively withdrew her appendage, horrified at the thought of direct physical contact with an alien species. "Commander, where are your environmental protection suits?" The 5 humans exchanged glances. Dr. Chen, distinguished by the darker pigmentation of his facial hair, stepped forward. "Professor, we reviewed your atmospheric composition. It's 79% nitrogen, 18% oxygen, with trace gases and minimal particulates. For us, this is like a health spa. But the potential biological contamination." Tech Surgeon Jackson, the shortest of the humans but with the most prominent musculature, laughed. "We've been decontaminated 6 ways to Sunday before boarding. Trust me, you're more likely to catch something from your own species than from us." A low murmur rippled through the alien students, their various appendages and sensory organs retracting in alarm. The Malorians, with their hypersensitive olfactory glands, actually activated their emergency vapor filters. "Very well," Villith relented, realizing she wouldn't win this argument. "Please take your seats. Today we begin our unit on atmospheric pressure adaptation." As the humans moved toward the empty safety pods, Lieutenant Wilson raised his hand. "Actually, Professor, would it be all right if we just sat on the regular benches? These pods look a bit restrictive." The alien students' collective gasp was audible throughout the room. "Sit outside the safety pods." During an atmospheric pressure lesson, "I suppose that would be acceptable," Villith conceded, her scientific curiosity beginning to overcome her anxiety. But you must alert me immediately if you experience any distress." "Of course," Dr. Okafor replied with a warm smile that displayed her blunt herbivore teeth. "But I should mention that humans routinely experience atmospheric pressure changes far more extreme than anything in your syllabus." "Impossible," whispered a Trilaxian student, their gelatinous form quivering with disbelief. "The syllabus includes pressure variations of up to 0.4 standard atmospheres." Sergeant Jackson turned to the Trilaxian. "Back home, I used to do recreational deep-sea diving. That's about 4 additional atmospheres of pressure. And mountaineering expeditions routinely deal with pressure drops of 0.7 atmospheres." The class fell silent as the lesson began. Professor Villith activated the environmental controls, slowly decreasing the atmospheric pressure by 0.1 atmospheres. Immediately, the safety pods hummed to life, compensating for the change to protect their occupants. Warning indicators flashed on several pods as their inhabitants' biology struggled with even this minor adjustment. The humans, sitting casually on benches, showed no reaction whatsoever. "Is something supposed to be happening?" Commander Rodriguez asked after a moment, looking genuinely confused. Villith increased the pressure change to 0.2 atmospheres below standard. More warning lights flashed on the safety pods. The humans continued their casual conversation, apparently oblivious to what should have been increasingly uncomfortable conditions. "Perhaps we should try the opposite direction," suggested Dr. Chen helpfully. "Humans generally notice pressure increases more than decreases." Villith reset the chamber to standard pressure, then gradually increased it. At 0.3 atmospheres above normal, the safety pods were administering emergency stabilization protocols to their occupants. The humans finally seemed to notice something. "Oh, this feels like being about 10 feet underwater," Lieutenant Wilson commented. "Bit harder to hear, but otherwise not bad." "Fascinating," Dr. Okafor added, checking a small device on her wrist. "My blood oxygen levels haven't changed significantly. Human lungs are quite adaptable to pressure variations." By the end of the lesson, Villith had exhausted the environmental chamber's safe operating parameters without eliciting more than mild interest from the humans. Her regular students, meanwhile, had experienced significant physiological stress, even within their protective pods. As the class period ended, the alien students quickly retreated through decontamination chambers, casting nervous glances at the humans who casually gathered their belongings. "Professor," Commander Rodriguez approached Villith Station. "I hope we didn't disrupt your lesson plan too much. We're eager to learn, but perhaps our baseline tolerances are different from what you're accustomed to teaching." "Different is an understatement, Commander," Villith replied, her scientific mind racing with questions. "Your species' adaptability is remarkable. Tomorrow's lesson on temperature variation will be illuminating." The next day, the temperature variation lesson proved even more astonishing. While the alien students remained in their safety pods, now equipped with enhanced thermal regulation, the humans experienced temperature swings from what they called a nice spring day to a bit chilly to summer in Texas, ranges that would have caused severe physiological damage to most galactic species. Lieutenant Wilson even removed his outer garment during the highest temperature setting, explaining that on Earth, humans often deliberately expose themselves to extreme heat in recreational settings called saunas. The breaking point came during the 3rd week, when the curriculum called for radiation exposure training. The safety pods were equipped with the most advanced radiation shielding available, designed to protect students during the carefully controlled exposure to minimal radiation levels used to teach detection and avoidance. As Professor Villith explained the elaborate safety protocols, Dr. Chen raised his hand. "Professor, humans are naturally resistant to low-level radiation. In fact, Earth's background radiation is higher than anything in your safety parameters. We experience more radiation during a transoceanic flight than your lesson plan calls for." Before Villith could respond, emergency alarms blared throughout the academy. The automated system announced, "Critical failure in power core stabilization. Elevated radiation levels detected. All personnel evacuate to designated safety zones immediately. The alien students panicked, their safety pods automatically sealing and initiating emergency protocols. But the evacuation route was blocked by a collapsed structural support. The power fluctuations had caused a gravity anomaly that damaged the building's integrity. "Stay calm." Commander Rodriguez's voice cut through the chaos. Dr. Chen, radiation assessment. Lieutenant Wilson, structural analysis. Sergeant Jackson, power systems. Dr. Okafor, triageny injured. Move. The humans sprang into action with practiced efficiency, moving through the radiation-flooded environment as if it posed no immediate threat. When Jackson determined that the main power conduit needed manual reset, he unhesitatingly entered a chamber that registered radiation levels that would be lethal to most species. "This is nothing," he called back. "Less radiation than a solar flare on Mars colony." Within minutes, the humans had stabilized the power systems, rerouted the evacuation path, and begun assisting the alien students, many of whom were experiencing severe anxiety responses despite being physically unharmed. As Professor Villith watched these Deathworlders calmly manage what her species would consider a catastrophic disaster, she began to understand. Humans didn't ignore safety protocols because they were reckless. They ignored them because what the rest of the galaxy considered dangerous barely registered on their evolutionary threat detection systems. Perhaps, Villith reflected as Commander Rodriguez helped her to the evacuation zone, it was time to reconsider who should be teaching whom about survival. The final test. News of the humans' extraordinary performance during the Academy emergency spread quickly through the administrative corridors. While the alien students recovered in the medical bay, most suffering from stress responses rather than physical injuries, the Academy's High Council convened an emergency session. Professor Villith found herself standing before the 7 senior administrators, each representing one of the founding species of the Galactic Alliance. These humans, intoned High Administrator Zorix, his crystalline form refracting light in patterns that indicated deep concern, they entered radiation zones without protection. "Yes, Administrator," Villith confirmed. According to their medical officer, the radiation levels were, and I quote, "barely worth monitoring by their standards." "Impossible," declared Administrator Ket, her insectoid mandibles clicking with agitation. "Our sensors indicated levels that would cause cellular degradation in most species within minutes." "That's just it," Villith explained, her scientific curiosity now fully overriding her initial fear. Earth's natural background radiation, combined with their star's frequent electromagnetic outbursts, has produced organisms with remarkable cellular repair mechanisms. Humans experience and recover from radiation exposure that would kill most of us. The administrators exchanged troubled glances. It was Administrator Pell, the ancient Valerian whose species had first developed interstellar travel, who finally spoke the concern on everyone's mind. If these Deathworlders can survive conditions we find lethal, what are the security implications? What happens if they decide their interests don't align with the Galactic Alliance? "I believe that fear is unwarranted," Villith responded carefully. "The humans have shown nothing but eagerness to share knowledge and assist others. During the emergency, their first instinct was to protect all students, regardless of species. After hours of debate, the High Council reached a decision. The humans would be subjected to the Crucible, an advanced simulation chamber designed to test survival skills under extreme conditions. Originally created for training specialized emergency response teams, it had never been used on exchange students before. More controversially, the alien students would be permitted to observe the test through remote monitoring systems. If humans truly possessed extraordinary capabilities, perhaps the students could learn from witnessing them firsthand. The following morning, Commander Rodriguez and her team received the notification about their special assessment. They accepted with what appeared to be enthusiasm rather than apprehension. Finally, Lieutenant Wilson grinned, something challenging. The Crucible's control room bustled with activity as technicians programmed increasingly difficult scenarios. Professor Villith watched alongside her students, who had insisted on attending despite still recovering from the evacuation incident. The first scenario will test temperature extremes beyond our normal parameters, she explained to the students. We've designed conditions that approach the theoretical limits of carbon-based life. Inside the crucible chamber, the 5 humans stood in standard academy uniforms, having once again declined environmental protection gear. The simulation began with a rapid temperature drop to levels that would instantly freeze the bodily fluids of most species. "Whoa, that's brisk," Sergeant Jackson exclaimed, rubbing his arms vigorously. "Reminds me of winter training in Antarctica." Dr. Okafor pulled a small device from her pocket and distributed what appeared to be nutrient capsules. "Take these. They'll help boost your metabolic rate." The humans huddled together, sharing body heat in a formation that seemed instinctive rather than planned. Despite the extreme cold, their vital signs remained stable. "Impossible," whispered a Trilaxian student. "They should be in cellular stasis by now." Next came extreme heat, temperatures that approached the boiling point of water. The humans removed outer layers of clothing, their skin exuding moisture that evaporated to cool them. "Hydration is key," Dr. Chen advised. "Distributing water containers. Drink regularly, even if you don't feel thirsty yet." The humans survived scenario after scenario. Toxic atmospheric compounds they filtered through improvised masks. High-gravity conditions they endured through careful movement techniques. Even radiation levels that caused the monitoring equipment to issue warnings about instrument damage. The alien students watched in silent awe as these Deathworlders treated lethal conditions as mere inconveniences to be managed with practical solutions and teamwork. Then came the final test, a scenario the technicians called cascading system failure. Multiple environmental hazards would activate simultaneously while the chamber's structural integrity appeared to fail. It was designed to test emergency evacuation protocols under extreme duress. As alarms blared and the chamber filled with smoke, simulated debris began falling from above. The gravity fluctuated wildly, making movement unpredictable and dangerous. "Form up," Commander Rodriguez shouted over the chaos. "Jackson, take point. Wilson, Chen, secure those power conduits. Okafor, with me." The humans moved with startling efficiency, demonstrating what appeared to be practiced emergency procedures. They quickly identified that one evacuation route remained viable, secured loose equipment that threatened to become projectiles in the variable gravity, and established a safe path. Most impressively, when a particularly large piece of simulated debris threatened to block their escape route, Lieutenant Wilson and Sergeant Jackson positioned themselves beneath it, using their bodies as living supports to hold it back while the others passed through. "They're sacrificing themselves for the group," gasped a Malorian student, their empathic sensors overwhelmed by the emotion of the moment. But the humans weren't sacrificing themselves. They were calculating risks. Once the path was clear, they rolled out from under the debris with split-second timing that spoke of evolutionary reflexes honed by millennia of danger. As the simulation ended and the humans emerged from the crucible, applause erupted from the observation deck, a rare cross-species gesture of appreciation that required no translation. Professor Villith approached Commander Rodriguez, her scientific detachment completely abandoned. "Commander, what you and your team just demonstrated, it challenges everything we understand about biological limitations." Rodriguez smiled. "Professor, every human child learns basic survival skills. What you call extreme conditions are just Tuesday on Earth. Our planet has tried to kill us for millions of years. We've adapted." But the final scenario. You worked as a perfect unit, anticipating each other's actions without communication. "That's just human nature," Dr. Okafor explained. "In crisis situations, we default to protect the group. It's written into our DNA from when we had to survive predators much larger and faster than ourselves." High Administrator Zorix approached, his crystalline form glowing with what humans would recognize as respect. "Commander Rodriguez, the Galactic Academy of Sciences would like to propose something unprecedented. We wish your team to develop a new curriculum. Survival Strategies of Deathworld Species. Our students have much to learn from you. We'd be honored, Administrator, Rodriguez replied. But I'd suggest renaming it. Every species has valuable survival adaptations. We humans just happen to come from a planet that required versatility. The Academy changed after that day. The human exchange program expanded, with Deathworlders from Earth becoming highly sought-after instructors in fields ranging from emergency response to environmental adaptation. Safety protocols were rewritten, acknowledging that different species had different baseline tolerances. Most importantly, the term Deathworlder gradually lost its fearful connotation among the galactic community. Instead, it came to represent a unique perspective, beings who saw opportunity where others saw only danger, who had evolved to meet challenges rather than avoid them. Professor Villith eventually co-authored the definitive xenobiology text on human adaptability with Dr. Chen. Its title became famous throughout the Academy, The Deathworld Advantage. How Earth's harshest conditions created its greatest innovation, humanity. In her introduction to the text, Villith wrote words that would be studied by generations of students across the galaxy. Perhaps the greatest lesson humans have taught us is that safety is not found in avoiding danger, but in learning to face it. True adaptation comes not from hiding from the universe's harshest realities, but from embracing them as opportunities for growth. In this, these remarkable Deathworlders may be our greatest teachers. Retriclaude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.